I don't need you, I don't need you, yeah. I need a new apartment, my own safe haven, and not the dump you live in. I don't need you, cause I got high ambitions, a boss bitch vision. I'm granting all my wishes. I don't need you, cause you've been blocking me and you've held me back from day one. Always kept me down so I couldn't fly on my own. Used to think that being single was being alone. Now I know I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you, yeah. I make my own decisions, my lifelong mission, releasing inhibitions. I don't need you to come crawling back to me, to tell me that you're sorry. I'm better now, I'm happy. I don't need you, cause you've been blocking me and you've held me back from day one. Always kept me down so I couldn't fly on my own. Used to think that being single was being alone. Now I know I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you, yeah. I'ma go out, I'ma dance now, raise a glass to being alone. You can stop me, you can reach me, cause I'm too high to fuck on. I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you, I don't need you, yeah. I don't need you,
for that short break. I hope you had a nice cup of coffee, drink, and refreshed, and you are ready for the second segment of our review of Chapter 19, The Broken Class. You have had our reviewers, and now we are going to collaboratively look at the next steps. And the book is Holistic Career Development Coaching and Mentorship Perspective. Just for those who have forgotten, that you can get the book online as a hardcover, softcover ebook, paperback at amazon.com/author/coach hyphen Tsima hyphen 2023. Or you just go on amazon.com, you put the title of the book or my name, you will be able to get the book. Or you can get the book straight from us. So that's just a reminder there. Dadera Mudla, I like the way you integrated the Steve Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People into this conversation. And I think that's beautiful. You know, it's that's a very powerful book that is an evergreen book that is forever relevant when you want to coach, mentor, or motivate young people. I know that's your favorite book. When Louisa mentioned it, I said, "Oh, there we go."
Oh, I was in good hands.
Oh, Brasem and listeners, if you want to focus and remain focused in life, read Brasem's book and relate it to the Stephen Covey's book of 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Then you'll enjoy life and you enjoy how you relate to people, you enjoy how you relate to your communities, enjoy how you relate to your colleagues at work. Anyway, we are in our second segment, and when we finished the first one, we agreed on the marching orders for this segment. We are going to look at the problem statements. We are going to look at the challenges. We are going to agree on the interventions in terms of the programs that you are exposed to, and then towards the end. But before that, you can reflect on some of the significant points you got from the chapter before we continue with our engagement. Louisa?
While you're still waiting for Louisa, I just want to read this comment from our colleague Mai Mutuwadzi. He's saying that the phrase "blood is thicker than water" is always misinterpreted if one goes deeper into its origin. I know it's meant for me, but I don't know whether that Maimela want us to address it. He says that in full it says, "Blood of the convent is thicker than the water of the womb," meaning the bonds we form out of our own inclination is more significant than the bonds by blood relativity. Wow, that's powerful. In so saying, it's also important to highlight the fact that the women may organize still meet at her homestead. That shows how strong their bond with Sam's mother is. Indeed, and that Ramut.
I agree, Brasem. Blood is thicker than water. In simple terms, if there is a conflict between your mother and the other person, irrespective of what circumstances, you are going to stick with your mother. That's my simple understanding of blood is thicker than water.
Wow, I'm sure there are many interpretations to it. I really like the way Mai is putting it, because you can really be narrow about it to say that means you do what the Babedi say, "Metlasha plata," which basically you exclude others and you only focus on your relatives in supporting the society. That could also be dangerous.
Yes. Anyway.
Okay. Good stuff. Good input in that, my man.
Okay. just one factor that I pick up in this chapter, which is a running thread throughout the book, and I think it's something that, if you know Sam, it's something that he holds dear. It is the issue of culture and the adherence to cultural practices. Now, maybe if we unpack what we understand by culture, things that have been done before us, which maybe as we move into modern society, we may want to dispel and adopt Western or other ways. But if you really look into them, you find that there's always a reason why things were done the way they were. And it is a way of building and encouraging cohesiveness. So that it really came out in this chapter, and it reminded me of that. It's an echoing theme, and I think in past chapters we have, and even how this discussion gave birth to the other culture discussion, that also forces us as Africans to really appreciate our own culture, and culture being the way we do, the way that we've done things, which had a meaning and significance to people traditionally. And maybe we do need to spend time to understand rather than to replace those cultural practices, because we will find that there was meaning and significance that is to our benefit.
And in actual fact, Ramuta, I have had to refer into a dictionary to try and understand the difference between culture and tradition. I was quite elated to find a clear distinction being made, that actually the two are not distinct, except that, as Louisa is saying, the culture is how things are done here consistently over a short to medium term. But once it's over a long term, that becomes a tradition. So there are certain things we grew up being done, they are still being done today. And you ask yourself, it's more than just a culture, it's a traditional practice. For instance, the way we conduct ourselves when somebody has passed on or when there's wedding. But the reality is, to support what Louisa is saying, it's dynamic. It's not fixed. It's fixed. I mean, you keep on building on. And if I may say that when people get married and they go and join other their partners' cultures, they are not replacing their culture. They're actually edifying. And that's really, again, to support what Louisa is saying. And I agree with you, Louisa. This is another discussion we should have, because it doesn't mean that when you mimic some practices in other cultures, you are actually letting go of your own culture. You are just edifying yourself. It's not about one culture dominating another. It's about cultures coexisting, and some of us demonstrating many cultures inside ourselves. But the question is how conscious you are about it when you do that. Am I hearing you very well, Lisa?
Yes, no, definitely, Prasem. And I mean, 2 weeks ago we spoke about the Chinese culture, um, and one has had a bit of experience in it, and you see other people taking pride in their culture, and you see that by them adhering to it, how it builds them as a society. And maybe us as blacks, who are the only people who always wanting to mimic others and maybe rejecting our own instead of, as you say, edifying, adding on to what we are already doing. So I think that is important. And I mean, we look at society and how troubled we are as a society. And maybe if we could go back to some of our cultural practices, really, because in us deviating from what was done, I don't know if we are producing a better society. Marriages, I mean, you've mentioned marriages are falling through the cracks every day. I mean, what do they say? 3 out of 10, maybe 5, 6 marriages are falling, apart. So we do need to introspect and go back and and relook at ourselves. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes, Annie, and you give us your input.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ramutla. Yes, my insight is that if the importance of this book and this chapter is that if you grew up witnessing your mother's drive and willpower, it can have a significant impact in your life. So then that is the important message that I think is key in this chapter. Your mother drives and willpower can serve as a source of inspirational for your work, or coaching and mentoring that Brasem is doing. By embodying those qualities you observe in her, Brasem, you can definitely be inspired and by those. So that is the importance of this to me.
That point. You in your job, you welcome so many students from so many different backgrounds at the university. And do you see do you see this diversity of cultures? And do you ever get the opportunity to help students to go back and relocate who they are? How do you go about helping somebody who comes with a sort of, I wouldn't say baggage, but certain influences that might be challenging for you guys as academics? And how do you address that? And which portfolios in your university are charged with that responsibility? Because the children are still young. I mean, they are just who they are. And sometimes they don't even know that they are their culture.
Yes, definitely, Brasem. When students are coming from high school to universities, they lack many things and they are challenged as well. Apart from the university being challenged by such students, but they are also challenged because they are now getting in the diverse environment whereby other people are culturally and then others, they don't actually do anything about that. That is the reason why we've got a program of a first year experience whereby they will be able to be we will be able to take them through that program so that they may understand different cultures and then so that they may be able to adapt quickly the life of the university. And it is done in my area, I think, of the Center for Academic Development, whereby we are developing them when they enter the university.
Wow.
So, Louisa, did you come with some programs that we can use to intervene in issues of dysfunctional families? But we know very well that our mothers play a very important role in unifying our families. But somehow families become dysfunctional and would require some programs to be implemented. What input can you give with that regard?
Thank you for that. With regard to programs, and I know Sam also mentioned it earlier, there's so much that is being done in terms of programs, and you alluded to the last time, our colleague who spoke about the work they're doing in Alexander. I also want to add, and maybe for me, I believe that everything starts with yourself.
Yes.
So we need to look at ourselves. For me, it is about the why we do what we do. And maybe now, because we've just been analyzing this chapter and seen the impact that one person can have on society, by being who they are. We need to, I think we make a greater impact by what we do than what we say. So, often we see people going to church and people will say, people don't go to church because they see those who go to church not being exemplary.
Yes.
We need to be really looking at ourselves and saying, are we being the best of who we can be? And, earlier on, Sam was saying that I should maybe just touch on the coaching and how the coaching training that I'm currently undergoing and what it is teaching me. One of the first things that we are taught is to build rapport. And rapport is the connecting with your client. And if you don't have that connection right at the beginning, it's not going to work. And I can maybe just say that with my first person I was allocated, we fought about times when she was available and when I was, and we couldn't get it right. And in the end, we couldn't work together and they had to reallocate us other people. So something like that. So we just couldn't move. So even if we had something valuable to share, that connection. And this is where I'm saying, why are you doing what you are doing? We also talk about the philosophy. What's motivating you to do what you do? I mean, you can have 10 people doing the same thing for all different reasons. But I believe that if your intentions are good and noble, then you will see an outcome. And it then goes to the active listening that I spoke about. When you interact with people and actively listen, you actually are getting into their world to really understand and empathize with where they are in order to provide a solution. There's much that has been written and spoken about in terms of listening skills, communication skills, what it means that when people talk, sometimes you are preparing a response instead of really getting, and it's that Stephen Covey of understanding before you want to be understood. The other thing is in coaching, it is also, and all of these are related. You could be coaching a person to attain professional goals, but sometimes they have other occurrences in their life that are distracting them from executing on this professional. You need to be able to move with them and go there. I can just give an example of the second client I was given, whom I've now been moved from for another reason, but she had a goal of running a marathon. And she had set a program of exercise, etc., which she was not able to execute to the best of ability. And when I probed and started talking to her, she had an operation. In times when it's cold, she's not able to move. And I had to get into that world and to be sympathetic to that in order to design a solution. How do you then still achieve your goals? So a lot of empathy, how we show up as coaches, how we show up in the community. The success of that is really going to be driven by how genuine you are. How much of yourself are you bringing to the equation?
Thank you very much. And you have indicated to us that in your work at the university, you are you are observing some challenges from the students. So in some of the challenges you are observing, are you able to relate to some of those challenges being caused maybe by family dysfunctioning?
Correct, Dr. Ramutla. The student challenge, we normally say charity begins at home. So this student coming from home, not prepared or maybe dysfunctional. So then we are having a lot of such students, but the good thing that we are trying to take them out from that is to do some programs that will assist them. Like most of the time, we will work with the student who should go for a working environment so that they may be able to link their theory with practice. So we develop work preparedness programs so that when they go to the real world of work, they may be able to cope. Most of the time we see our students are not communicating. They are forever in their gadgets. They don't engage with others as well. So there are community engagement programs that we have for the student, whereby they will go to the community and identify some of the things that they can do for the community. That is, and then after that, they will be able to they engage with the community, they engage with other students as well, apart from them not doing anything and coming from dysfunctional families. Even those who are coming from dysfunctional families, when you put out this program, community engagement and work preparedness program, you will see that they are coming up, they want to, they see something different out there that they think will work for them. Although some of them, they are not actually coming on board, but majority of them, when you continuously putting them in this program, they respond positively.
Thank you very much. Louisa, and do you have any practical interventions that you can share with us in your work environment or at home or in the community?
I would say maybe not the program, but the behavior that goes with it. And I want to go back to the issue of culture. I think anything that we do, we should be consistent. Consistent that it becomes a culture. So I didn't think of programs, and maybe we can look at, and he's coming up with some suggestions, but it's about that consistency that will make it a culture. So whatever it is that we are offering, and if I'm to use some of your examples, your programs with the student, let it be consistent, that it becomes a culture. If it is every Monday, if it were, that is what it must be, and we don't deviate from that. That is the input that I can make in that regard.
Let me just share with you another input from Mai here. I think he's trying to help us clarify understanding of the concept of cultures, which is quite very important. I think he says that one can argue that some cultures have been here for centuries, but it does not necessarily mean they are traditions. They remain cultures because they cannot be enforced on others, but a matter of choice to everyone. And then there are traditions which one's expected to practice, not by choice, but by one's belongings. Traditions can also be modernized, such as circumcision schools, weddings, and burials. I think that speaks to that dynamism we were talking about, because circumstances change, or scenarios change, or situations change, and we live in different eras. But I think the point that I find quite very helpful is, as Louisa was saying, that we need to revisit these cultures. If you are grounded in your culture before you get exposed to other cultures, you almost have a place where you bounce back to. Did I hear you saying that? Because I some stage I found myself battling with the foreign cultures when I was out of the country. But the moment I actually remembered what actually, why I'm coming from, what my identity was, I felt like I don't need to fight this. I mean, I don't need to change who I am just because I'm in this culture. So perhaps it's very important for people to understand that we are not saying stay with your culture and be what your culture is. We are saying be aware of your culture, and when you come with other cultures, don't impose yourself into it, don't fight it. If it becomes part of it, becomes part of you. But that identity for me is what makes me grounded. And many people sometimes, when they become something, they think they have to stop being something else. And then that confusion happens because when you are in critical moments, what do you default into?
Oh, indeed.
Yeah, it looks like it is a show on its own, Tatara Mutla. Maybe we just need to make it that note, because maybe get some experts. I don't know whether we have some experts of culture somewhere there, because it is a really pertinent issue, in my view.
If I'm to reflect on previous discussions, when the issue of culture did come up, there was an understanding, or what was communicated, that culture is dynamic. That, yes, and what you say is you start somewhere and then you tweak, you adapt, but there is a foundation, there is something that is core that you adhere to. But as you move, you may incorporate or discard certain aspects that maybe don't serve you as well. So yes, I agree that maybe a more in-depth discussion on it would help.
It isn't part of diversity as well, Louisa, in terms of corporate, that you hear people talking about diversity, but culture, sometimes we shy away from it because maybe certain cultures are dominant, and then the company becomes a monoculture rather than a multicultural company, depending on who is the dominant and what the leadership is actually thriving.
Yes, you are saying that in the corporate, because
yes, because the companies can embark on programs to say we want to promote a certain culture in our organization, but in the process of doing so, sometimes they remain a monoculture, or a culture of a leader, or a particular dominant culture that is prevalent, and the other cultures then become left on the sideline, and then we then say this is the culture of the company. But is it?
Well, it would be if the process of at arriving at it is embracive, that they include or involve the employees to have a say in terms of how it should look like. But I think every company would be identified by a certain culture, and that is its competitive edge in the market. That this company, this is who we are because of how we do it, how we dress, how we talk. And even in induction, when you are inducted, you are told that this is how you do it. But I think as you progress, they do allow employees to have a say, to tweak certain aspects that they feel can better make them function and make the company more effective.
My supporting your point of view, Louisa, by saying that it is much easier to be swallowed by other cultures if one doesn't understand their own culture. Hence, it is important for one to learn their own before others.
And maybe not only understanding, but appreciating your own culture, because you'll be swallowed if you don't believe in it. You don't see how it serves you. And so you'll be more readily adopt others, but you wouldn't so easily be swallowed if you see some of the aspects that are core to your being, to who you are.
Prasam, before we close the previous segment, you challenged me to highlight some few programs that we were doing in social development.
Yes.
But I want to introduce them within the context of the fact that we were addressing the broken glass and indicating the importance of the role of the mother in the family.
Yes.
So our programs, in program 1, we had a program called services for youth and women. And then in program 2, among others, we had the program for older persons, for people, substance abuse intervention and treatment, services to persons with disabilities. Yeah, that program for program 1 was gender and youth mainstreaming. also had HIV and AIDS. But what the program that is significant today is program 3, children and families. We wanted to provide comprehensive child and family care and support services to communities in partnership with stakeholders and civil society organizations. So with the understanding that the family is a very important institution, we had a sub-program called Care and Support Services for Families. Because of time, I won't go into the purpose of each and every sub-program, but we also held a sub-program for child care and protection. I think in the book we have indicated that the child of the village, and the village take the responsibility to take care of the children and protect them. We had such a program in the department, and because children had to be prepared during the early years of their ages, so we also had the sub-program called Early Childhood Development and Partial Care. So maybe let me park here. I just indicated that as government, we also had the responsibility to make sure that the issue of family dysfunctioning is addressed, but we also acknowledge the importance of the role of the mother in the family in unifying the families. Maybe at this stage, I will invite Louisa and Annie for each of them to give us their closing remarks before we go to the checking out.
After you, Annie.
Okay, Annie.
Okay, my closing remark will be that we have seen throughout the chapter that Melibia was supportive. So those relationship and support that he gave to Brasem, then we need to consider them, that how do they play a role? I actually saw them, the role that they play in coping with setbacks and embracing insight and fostering personal well-being. That is my closing statement, that relationship and support are key to your children.
Okay.
And we often take them for granted, Siseni, because if I did not do the reflection, I wouldn't have been able to realize that actually this was really the foundational base. So I think it is very helpful to do that reflection. And I think, Louisa, you will probably confirm that in coaching, one of the powerful methodologies to make people retrace their steps and reflect on their life journey. And sometimes we call it, like we had in one of the chapters, the journey of self-discovery. The journey of self-discovery is not just about you, but it's about how did you actually survive to be where you are today.
So, yeah, Louisa, maybe you might incorporate your closing remarks in your checkout presentation. As I have indicated earlier on, you need to confirm what has been confirmed for you after reading this chapter from a mentorship and coaching perspective. Of course, as we continued with the chapter, there were moments where the light bulb, there were light bulb moments where the penny drops, and we want to find out from you the aha moment. At what point did you experience the aha moment in the chapter? We also, as you read the book, you acknowledge new insight and knowledge. So we want you to share with us what insights have you gained from this chapter, and also reflect on the new knowledge, private or professional, you gained from this chapter. And yeah, I'm sure there is something you're taking home. What are you taking home from this chapter? What would you like to share with other people in your cycle of stakeholders? And finally, new behaviors and practices. What new behaviors or practices in your private and professional life will you adopt as a result of reading this chapter? What new practices in your private and professional life will you apply? And I know because it was part of your preparation, you will be able to take us through. Once Louisa finishes, Annie, you will come in and check out as well. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. Just in summary, the impact that this chapter had on me is that our behavior really does impact on people, and that we should be cognizant of what we do because we do impact, and we should be intentional and that impact is a positive one. And in the case of malaria, that is what it was. And I don't think I didn't get a sense from reading the chapter that she was constantly hammering on her children what to do. But the way that the story has been narrated, it is more Sam observing and learning. I think that was a big takeaway for me. The other thing is, going back to my comment on the broken glass, that we can replicate good by doing more good, or what we believe is good. So my redefinition of the shattered glass is that it has multiplied and multiplied for the good. And what I take away, even personally, is that I need to be consistent with both in the professional and personal space. I need to be more consistent in doing the things that I believe in, the ones that will lead me to achieve the goals that I intend. Consistency for me is, what I take away. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Let's listen to Annie.
Okay, thank you very much, what I want to say what I want to confirm is that having reading this chapter, I see that a mother who is actually portraying the good, the good for her children. It's like the person that you will never forget in life, and the person that you will always try to copy what she is doing or what she was doing. And then another thing is that I saw that the child calling the mother a glass as well. It was very important for me to see that you can love your mother to an extent that you see her as a glass that you want to lose. And once you lose it, then you get a broken heart. You get a broken heart. As I was reflecting that, for me, it was a broken heart for losing that. And my aha moment is to see Mele being a community builder, the person who wants peace every time with the community that she's living in. So then I really applaud and like that kind of a caliber of a person, whereby the person doesn't want to isolate other people in her surrounding, but want to fit in all the family members and everyone. The new insight I've learned that from this chapter, The Broken Glass, that if you are a person, you definitely need to look at your role models. That is what I've learned when I was reading that. If by reading this chapter, I'm having a role model already to what kind of a person Mama Lebeya was, and then her deeds, being a shy person and the person who's not talking too much, but a person with too many deeds, who did so many things for others. And I've gained my take home actually, or if I want to talk about the insight as well, a mother being supportive of her children's decision and seldom disagreeing can stem from various factors, including her parental style, meaning that her parental style was so good, and then values, personalities, and the dynamics of the parents-child relationship. So then it was, for me, they were key, and it's something that I'm taking home, that a mother like her, it's really the best mother that you can rely on. And the new behaviors and practices that I am taking, both from a professional space and a personal space, is that never never underestimate the power of the good characteristics. You need, as a child, to take them. And even in our professional space as well, we have people that we take them as role models. So those people are key in our lives. Therefore, we need to change. If maybe our practices was not actually good for them, we need to realize the little things that they do to us, so that we may be able to learn from them and continue doing the good things. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are heading towards the closure of the session. I want to thank you, Louisa and Annie. We were able to go according to the roadmap that we mapped together, myself and yourselves and my team. You really indicated, shared Brasem's journey with us, and you reflected back to where he comes from, up to where she is now. You have indicated the importance of Brasem's mother in who he is today. And you were able to successfully relate to your own journeys and relate it to Brasem's journey, and successfully were able to indicate the value-adding role of the message to the current and upcoming generations. And you successfully be able to look at the checkout in terms of the guideline that we have you have followed. And I want to thank you for that. And on behalf of the listeners, I would like to say thank you, thank you, thank you. Over to you, Brasem.
Thank you indeed. Thank you very much. It is really very insightful. Just some few pointers from the listeners. There's a message here from Hebima Bonya. She was one of our guests last week, the week before last, I guess. And then she says that here, family preservation programs are also important. I think that was when Franz was listing a number of programs that we can look at. And there's I think this is quite important. We need to support each other and support families, preserve those families, because they are part of the society. And that Maimela Mutuwadze is saying that it is very evident that May was living by example. Sam learned from her by observing her, not by her commanding him. That's the point that Louisa was mentioning, that we need to do things for people to learn from us. And Maimela goes on to say that children learn more from what they observe than what they are taught. They are taught, which is really true. Yeah, beautiful indeed. And Datera Mutla, I know you ran out of time, but it was refreshing for me to hear you relating the type of programs that the Social Development Department was embarking on during your time there. But I'm sure they are still doing those programs. And sometimes we're not aware of this great work. Maybe there's a challenge here to say we need to find each other as organizations and communities and government, so that the programs like these that you have listed, I mean, sure, it's quite a lot. I mean, early childhood, for instance, is massive in this country, and it's really the foundation for us. So maybe we need to revisit those. I mean, the programs for youth and women, for the elderly, persons with disability, HIV and AIDS. Maybe we should reach out to such practitioners in the departments when we have conversations like this, that they become guests. What do you think, Ndadramut?
Yes, I think it will be very much appropriate for us to invite them to our program so that they expand on the programs that I just highlighted in summary.
Yes, beautiful. And thanks to the listeners for really being with us throughout the. Yeah, that was chapter 19, the broken glass, and I'm glad that the topic itself pushed our reviewers to re-look at it. It's not really a broken glass in the negative sense. It's a glass that is shattered, but it multiplied itself. I'm sure the women of Mosehleng Galevia Society in Madibong, they will be encouraged to hear this, because I know how shattered they were. They still are. Whenever they see the book and they read about the book, the tears come out. Actually, they've challenged me to say they want this book in Sepedi. I'm still wondering where to start.
Yeah, but because you kept including Sepedi in the book, it shows that you were tempted to write it in Sepedi, but wanted it to be enjoyed globally.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, so chapter 20 is coming on the 5th of September, and it's not next week. It is on the 5th of September. So you and I were talking about giving you enough time, you and Vizo Muramakopo Gerald Bajani, because you are the designated reviewers of chapter 20, the Lekgotla Way. I mean, and I think there is a reason why you are going to be not an anchor on that day. You are going to be the reviewer because of the deep knowledge that you have acquired during 2017, wherein we had a full year of monthly Lekgotla development training. So I'm going to keep quiet. You don't even need the induction into the topic. You have already read the chapter. It's quite a big chapter. So I'm glad there's a time in between for you and Vizo to prepare. And there's quite a number of people who have experienced Lekgotla, either participating in it or observing it. So it is actually, there's a manual on it. So those who want to access the manual before even we review the chapter, they will be welcome to approach us. We can share that with us. I'm looking forward to it, Ndadaramut. I hope you're excited about it.
Very much excited, and thank you very much for the honor. Thank you very much.
Yeah. You and Muramakopo, you will educate us on the African Lekgotla Way methodology on the 5th of September. Same time here at COMETSA Radio Worldwide. The mind, the destiny. You like your slogan, Ndadaramut. Indeed, we did inform, develop, empower, and associate.
Yes.
That's the idea. From my side, thank you very much also to my Imela. And then, of course, Ndate Vaubas, Rokoli, Spice Pogole. He's not feeling well. He's recovering from flu, but I know he's tuned in and he's enjoyed this definitely. And I'm sure he's looking forward to Lekota because that is one subject that, being an elder among us, I'm sure he's going to have a lot to share with us. But as I said, we have a manual that is taken this African traditional methodology to be used in the modern setting as part of that culture that is very dynamic. Thank you so much. You take care. And once again, thank you. And we always appreciate your input. Goodbye. Take care until we meet again. And you colleagues in the studio, stay there as I'm saying goodbye to the listeners. And yeah, until we meet each other on the 5th of September. But actually, before the 5th of September, on the 30th of August, we will be hosting our VUT monthly show. And we will be having Annie back, but not as a guest, but in the background with her guest from Bali University of Technology. We'll share with you the topic. Very interesting guest indeed. I've already spoken to them. Goodbye. Till then, take care.